Hi, this is New Time on Silkway TV channel. We introduce you with the most visible news and important events that happened throughout this week in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. More details on politics, economy, social and cultural life, with opinions from the most recognizable experts of Kazakhstan and world. I'm Dorian Sogulov, and this is what you'll see today. 2 official visits in 1 week, Bulgaria and Slovakia in Astana. What's driving Europe's renewed interest in Kazakhstan? From human capital to diplomacy, why Kazakhstan matters to the OSCE today. Greta Thunberg deported after Gaza mission. World leaders is speaking out against Israel's blockade. We begin with the official agenda in Astana. This week, Kazakhstan welcomed Bulgarian President Rumen Radev on a visit that wasn't just a courtesy call. Timed with the 33rd anniversary of diplomatic ties, the visit signaled a shift from polite gestures to real strategic engagement. Astana and Sofia committed to strengthening their roles in Eurasia, proposing a fresh model of inter-regional cooperation built on infrastructure, innovation and culture. Capping the visit, high-level talks took place in both narrow and extended formats alongside with a business forum. Both parties agreed it's time to move the partnership forward. But what does that actually mean in practice, and where do trade relations stand? My colleague Balzhan Samigulina reports.
It all started back in 1992 when Kazakhstan and Bulgaria officially shook hands on the world stage. Over the next 3 decades, that handshake turned into a steady political dialogue backed by a growing list of agreements in trade, culture, education and science. Sofia hasn't been just a partner but a supporter for Astana, from championing Kazakhstan's entry into the World Trade Organization to backing Expo 2017 in Astana and even voting in favor of UN's Security Council seat. Presidential visit from Zhelev and Georgy Parvanov helped cement those early ties. And now that strong diplomatic bond is evolving into a forward-looking partnership built on energy, transport and tech with Rumen Radev.
Last week marked the 33rd anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between our countries. Your visit to Kazakhstan coincided with this significant milestone. Over the years, Astana and Sofia have developed an active political dialogue at all levels, based on mutual trust. A robust legal and contractual framework has been established, and ties in the trade, economic and investment sectors continue to strengthen.
At the heart of this visit, a round of in-depth talks between the 2 delegations. Held in both narrow and expanded formats, the discussions tackled not just protocol, but substance. From trade and energy to global security and innovation, the focus was on practical cooperation, answering today's challenges with tomorrow's solutions. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev outlined Kazakhstan's strategic vision, setting the tone for a partnership that's ready to scale.
It is gratifying to note that our bilateral trade is being increased, and it's a very good tendency. Nearly 60 companies with Bulgarian participation successfully operate on our market. And currently we cooperate fruitfully, productively in such sectors as mining, manufacturing, transport and construction. And we see great potential to collaborate in such promising fields as energy, transport and logistics, green transition, nuclear sector, space, agriculture, digitalization, healthcare and tourism.
Transport links, clean energy and agribusiness, that's where the spotlight landed as Kazakhstan and Bulgaria look to take their partnership to the next level. The message came through loud and clear at a business forum that brought together entrepreneurs from both sides. Bulgarian companies were encouraged to tap into the opportunities of the Astana International Financial Center and plug into its dynamic, fast-growing ecosystem. President Tokayev made the case even stronger, reminding everyone that Kazakhstan moves 85% of all overland trade between Europe and China. And when it came to next steps, agriculture stood out as one of the most promising fields for joint efforts.
Our agricultural products are already exported to more than 70 countries. Kazakhstan ships over than 8 million tons of wheat and 2 million tons of flour annually, placing us among the world's top 10 grain exporters. We are interested in developing cooperation with the Bulgarian partners in the production of meat, honey, vegetable oils, and dairy products. We welcome the interest of Lekkerbek company to invest in meat processing in Shymkent city, a project that will bring in modern technologies and boost regional export potential.
Kazakhstan and Bulgaria also looked outward, exploring ways to coordinate their efforts on the global stage through international platforms. In particular, Kazakhstan thanked Bulgaria for backing its initiative to create a regional center for sustainable development goals in Almaty, aimed at Central Asia and Afghanistan. Thus, both parties reaffirmed their support for multilateral diplomacy and global stability. Wrapping up the visit, 5 memorandums were signed, including to link Bulgaria's Black Sea ports, Burgas and Varna, to the Trans-Caspian International Transport Corridor, opening new gateways for regional trade.
I'm confident that today's talks will give a new impetus to bilateral cooperation. The signed memorandum on the further development of the Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor is the embodiment of our aspirations. It is necessary to make the most of the strategic geographic location of Kazakhstan and Bulgaria along this route, which connects Asia and Europe. We have huge opportunities not only in cargo transportation, energy and digitalization, but also in expanding our cultural ties.
Thus, President Rumen Radev's visit marked the start of a new chapter in Kazakh-Bulgarian relations, the one defined not by words but by concrete steps in trade, transport, technology and cultural exchange. Together, the two nations are expected to build a stronger bridge between Europe and Central Asia. Balzhan Samigulina, Zhana Smagulova, New Time.
Kazakhstan is ready to export oil, gas and uranium to Slovakia, said President Tokayev during talks with Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico, who paid an official visit to Kazakhstan this week. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev emphasized that the discussions focused on strengthening bilateral ties, with particular attention to increasing trade volumes and deepening investment cooperation. According to him, bilateral trade between Kazakhstan and Slovakia reached $140 million in 2024. More than 30 Slovak-owned companies and 22 joint ventures currently operate in Kazakhstan across a range of sectors. Among the most promising areas for future cooperation, President Tokayev highlighted energy, industrial manufacturing, agriculture, logistics, the development of critical raw materials, education and tourism.
Your country stands as one of the most active and dynamically developing EU member states. Many of these achievements are a testament to your strong leadership at the helm of Slovak government. And Slovakia's active stance in regional and international affairs reflects our joint commitment to constructive global engagement. And I appreciate the growing political dialogue, economic cooperation, and humanitarian exchanges, as well as productive interaction on the multilateral track.
According to the head of state, the Intergovernmental Commission plays a key role in advancing bilateral cooperation. In this regard, he proposed raising the status of its co-chairs to the ministerial level. Kazakhstan also expressed interest in learning from Slovakia's best practices in water resource management and stands ready to engage in joint efforts in this area. For his part, Prime Minister Robert Fico thanked President Tokayev for the warm welcome, confirmed the mutual interest in strengthening the partnership, and extended an invitation for the President of Kazakhstan to visit Slovakia.
Your Excellency, we follow with full respect what you are doing for your country, and your ambitious plan, new, just and prosperous Kazakhstan, is something that we follow. And I always ask my colleagues in the European Union that we should look not only into the European Union, we should look also around what's going on, what is experience of other countries, what other countries are doing.
Let's move on. A plenary session of the Parliamentary Assembly of Turkic States, Turkpa, was held in Astana. This year, Kazakhstan assumed the chairmanship of the organization and hosted the 14th session dedicated to the role of parliamentary diplomacy. During his meetings with the speakers of the member parliaments, President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev emphasized that in times of geopolitical uncertainty, trust, solidarity and stable forms of cooperation among fraternal nations are more important than ever. He called that Kazakhstan was among the founding members of Turkpa and has consistently provided comprehensive support to the organization. According to the president, strengthening interparliamentary ties enhances the international standing of the Turkic world and contributes to deeper integration and mutual understanding among its member states.
The Parliamentary Assembly is a highly important political institution. Kazakhstan fully supports this organization. I served as a chair of the Senate for 10 years, was actively involved in developing interparliamentary ties, and have a deep understanding of how legislative bodies operate. Thanks to our joint efforts, Turkic solidarity continues to grow stronger each year. This is a highly positive trend, contributing to the rising international standing and influence of the entire Turkic world.
Тұтас түркі жұртының халықаралық беделі мен ықпалы арта түсуде.
President Tokayev highlighted Kazakhstan's contribution to the development of the Organization of Turkic States, reaffirming that Turkic integration remains a key priority of the country's foreign policy. He noted that Kazakhstan held the OTC chairmanship last year and, under the Turk Time initiative, hosted nearly 100 international events, including the World Nomad Games in Astana. Among the key achievements were the launch of the Turkic Investment Fund and the strengthening of economic ties among member states. The president also proposed hosting the next OTC summit in Turkestan, which is a symbolic spiritual and cultural center of the Turkic world. The head of state emphasized that the accumulated potential of both the OTC and Turkpa should be harnessed to achieve shared goals and ensure the sustainable development of the broader Turkic region.
Kazakhstan is one of the founding members of the Organization of Turkic States. This structure plays a significant role in the economic, cultural and humanitarian development of our nations. In our view, its full potential should be harnessed to achieve the shared goals of our peoples. Last year, Kazakhstan held the chairmanship of the organization. Under the banner of Turk Time, we implemented a number of important initiatives.
Turkic states are set to launch infrastructure projects aimed to deepen economic cooperation across the region. That's according to the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, Numan Kurtulmuş, who spoke to Silkway TV channel in an exclusive interview. Speaking in Astana just after the 14th Turkpa plenary session, he underscored the growing strategic partnership between Kazakhstan and Turkey and signaled the beginning of a new, action-oriented phase of cooperation within the realm of the OTC member states. From transport corridors to energy networks, the focus is now on turning shared ambitions into tangible results. Now let's take a look at the fragment of that exclusive conversation.
Türkiye ve Kazakistan arasındaki
How would you assess the current level of strategic partnership between Turkey and Kazakhstan?
Turkey and Kazakhstan share deeply rooted friendship and close ties. It is true brotherly nations. As you know, Turkey was one of the first countries to recognize Kazakhstan's independence. Since then, our ties have been actively developing in all areas. Bilateral trade, cooperation in the military sphere, as well as stable contacts across various sectors of the economy have been successfully evolving for many years. Today, these relations are at the level of a strategic partnership. The implementation of current projects is proceeding smoothly. I hope we will continue on this path, further strengthening our ties and developing our partnership.
How do you assess the role of the Turkpa Interparliamentary Assembly in strengthening legislative alignment among Turkic states?
Today, the General Assembly placed on its agenda a number of proposals related to joint legislative activity. These are initiatives that were previously prepared within the relevant committees. All countries are interested in exchanging experience between legislative bodies, as well as in developing a shared legal orientation across a wide range of areas. environmental legislation, women's rights, education, healthcare, and other related sectors. These issues were discussed during today's General Assembly, and the corresponding reports were approved.
Türk Devletleri Teşkilatı'nın
In the context of the growing role of the Organization of Turkic States, how do you see the contribution of Kazakhstan and Turkey to its institutional development?
Şimdi tabii Türk Devletler Teşkilatı'nın gelişmesi
The development of the Organization of Turkic States is a process shaped in many ways by serious challenges. However, it is precisely these challenges that open up new opportunities for us. Today, a new door is opening for the OTS. To seize this opportunity, we must first and foremost strengthen our unity and solidarity. Only through collective effort can we bring the Turkic world to the forefront in the evolving global balance. The emerging Turkic world has the potential to make a significant contribution to global stability. To achieve this, we must make the most effective use of our available resources and build cooperation across all areas, from education and healthcare to culture and agriculture. If we are able to act in a spirit of solidarity and implement large-scale projects together, then we will truly be able to say that we have seized the opportunity that history has presented to us.
Türden işte tarıma kadar her alanda yani elimizde ne varsa bunları ortaklaşmak, dayanışmak, yardımlaşmak ve güzel projelerle sonuç almamız lazım. Eğer bunu gerçekleştirebilirsek tarihin bize sunduğu değerler, fırsatlardan da istifade etmiş olacağız, bunu değerlendirmiş olacağız.
Türk Devletleri Teşkilatı üyeleri arasında
Are joint initiatives on economic integration, digital platforms, or security issues being discussed at the parliamentary level within the framework of the OTS?
parlamento düzeyinde görüşülüyor mu?
Bunlar tabii ki görüşülüyor, görüşülmesi de lazım. Burada
Of course, these issues are being discussed, and more importantly, they must be discussed. The key question is, do we have the resources to implement such initiatives? And the answer is yes, we do. The Turkic world is indeed facing a wide range of opportunities. Secondly, beyond resources, what matters is the presence of political will. If we look at the current developments in Turkic states, we can clearly see the commitment to advancing the Organization of Turkic States, and that alone is half the success. The rest is a matter of planning and systematic work on each specific area. We have the political experience, human capital, expertise, and economic potential, both in terms of natural resources and accumulated governance experience. In other words, once the right conditions align with a firm determination, the implementation of these initiatives will become only a matter of time and coordinated
zaman
effort.
meselesidir ve yoğun çalışma meselesidir.
The Organization of Turkic States is expanding beyond its cultural foundations and is now actively preparing to launch joint satellite initiatives by the end of this year. That's according to the Secretary-General Kubanычbek Omuraliyev, who recently spoke to New Time. According to him, today the bloc is engaged in more than 40 areas of cooperation, from youth and trade to agriculture, security and space exploration. With a combined GDP of over $2 trillion and intra-bloc trade reaching 850 billion, the OTC has its sights set on accelerating that growth, with concrete plans for deeper integration across the region.
Totally now our member states GDP 2.1 trillion US dollars, and the trade between our in an organization 1.1. But intertrade between our member states 850 billion US dollars. This means about 7%. But if you look back just 5 years ago, it was 3%. Or you look back to 25 years ago, was 1%. So it's growing. If you look back history, just more than 70 years was, we was divorce each other. But I mean about Central Asian countries and Turkey. Now everyone is together, and our is very actively each other cooperated, and the more than now is 40 areas who are cooperated each other, starting from foreign policy, sport, youth, culture, trade, agriculture, and including space. Yeah. So soon, in the end of this year, it will be we in our agencies for who is busy for space. They now is working for one is our joint satellite.
The full conversation with the Secretary General, where he also discussed cultural diplomacy, institutional reforms, and the bloc's evolving role on the global stage, is available now via the QR code on your screen. And now it's time for our weekly segment Central Asia in Focus. Joining us in the studio is political analyst Ozhet Shigirbayev. Welcome, Ozhet.
Hello, Dorian. Great to be back.
As we know, this week the President of Uzbekistan held talks with the Prime Minister of Azerbaijan. On this program, we've previously discussed Kazakhstan-Azerbaijan relations. Those mutual interests are quite clear. But let me ask you this. What exactly is drawing Tashkent and Baku closer together today? As I understand, much of it hinges on the fact that all branches of the Trans-Caspian transit route ultimately converge in Azerbaijan. Is that right?
Yes, Dorian, it's absolutely right. Uzbekistan is keen on developing its transit and transport potential, which is why it's actively building ties with Baku and working to diversify its transport routes. For example, starting from September 1 this year, both countries will fully transit to electronic permit forms for international road freight transportation. Also, since May 5th, the Uzbek airline Centrum Air has launched regular direct flights on the Tashkent-Baku-Tashkent route. But transportation is not the only area of cooperation. Bilateral trade currently stands at around 150 million a year. Each year, approximately 10,000 of Azerbaijani tourists visit Tashkent, and a similar number of Uzbek tourists travel to Azerbaijan. It's also worth to note that construction of $300 million USD hotel complex in Tashkent being developed by an Azerbaijani company.
Thank you very much for those insights, Ozhet, and now over to you.
Thank you, Dorian. Here is what happened across the Central Asia this week. The Ministry of Trade and Integration of Kazakhstan hosted an official delegation from Turkmenistan as part of an experience-sharing initiative on accession to the World Trade Organization, WTO. The Turkmen delegation was headed by Ilham Yarashov, the head of the Department of Cooperation with the WTO of the Ministry of Finance and Economy of Turkmenistan. The delegation also included representatives from the Cabinet of Ministers, the Central Bank, the Parliament, and relevant ministries and agencies, which is responsible for trade and economic policy. The purpose of this visit was to study Kazakhstan's practical experience in joining the WTO, including institutional and legal reforms, the negotiation process and commitments, and the alignments of national legislation with the multilateral trade rules. The program included technical consultation with the Kazakh negotiations, government officials, and trade policy experts. The Kazakh side was represented by the Ministry of Trade and Integration, the Center for Trade Policy Development Castrate, as well as leading specialists who directly participate in the Kazakhstan accession to the WTO. As part of the visit, the delegation also toured the Astana International Financial Center. In general, the visit of the Turkmen delegation to Astana once again affirmed Kazakhstan's role as a reliable and active partner in Central Asia, open to cooperation and knowledge exchange. Kazakhstan continues to share its experience in WTO accession and economic reforms. Over the past year, similar delegations from Uzbekistan and Azerbaijan, who both in the process of joining the WTO, have also visited Kazakhstan. This growing dialogue enhances regional cohesion and lays a solid foundation for the further development of intra-regional trade. From June 10 to 12, the Tashkent International Investment Forum took place at the Kazakhs exhibition center in Uzbekistan. The event was organized under the coordination of the Ministry of Investment, Industry and Trade of the Republic of Uzbekistan. On the opening day, June 10, the forum hosted a series of discussions and panel sessions, which was focused on key issues related to investment and economic development. A central highlight of the forum is the first national exhibition of Uzbekistan industrial and investment potential. The exhibition featured over 90 leading Uzbek companies operating in sectors such as petrochemicals, engineering, construction, food processing, and more. The display offers investors a comprehensive overview of products ready to implementation and collaboration opportunities. The forum has attracted over 8,000 participants, including nearly 3,000 international delegates from around 100 countries, underscoring the high level of trust in Uzbekistan as a dynamically developing and open investment destination. On the sidelines of the forum, President of Uzbekistan, Mr. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, held a meeting with the Prime Minister of the Kazakhstan, Mr. Uljas Bektenov. Prime Minister of Kazakhstan conveyed greetings and best wishes from President of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. During the meeting, the sides discussed key issues of trade and economic relations, transport and logistics, industrial cooperation, water and energy, as well as cultural and humanitarian ties. Uzbekistan is one of Kazakhstan's key trade partners. In the first 4 months of this year, bilateral trade reached 1.3 billion of USD, a 9.4% increase compared to the same period of the last year. Export grew by 15.9%, totaling 1 billion of USD, driven primarily by cooperation in industry, automotive manufacturing and agriculture. Also, on June 10th, President of Uzbekistan, Mr. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, also received Prime Minister of Azerbaijan, Mr. Ali Asadov, who was attending the Tashkent International Investment Forum. The meeting focused on the further expansion and strengthening of Uzbek-Azerbaijani relations of friendship, strategic partnership and alliance. The two sides noted the satisfaction by the ongoing fruitful collaboration under the Year of Economic Cooperation. Trade volumes are increasing, the joint projects in various sectors are actively progressing, supported in part by a joint investment company. The parties emphasize the importance of continued close cooperation at the government level to monitor the implementation of agreements and to develop new initiatives ahead of the upcoming high-level summit. They also underline the importance of the planned next session of the Intergovernmental Commission and the regional forum of the two countries. On June 9, the official opening ceremony of the Poti Trans Terminal took place in the city of Poti, Georgia. This joint project was developed by Kazakhstan's PTC Holding in partnership with Georgian and Azerbaijani counterparts. The new terminal has become a vital part of the Trans-Caspian international transport route, also known as the Middle Corridor, which links China, Central Asia and Europe via the Caspian and Black Seas. The project was implemented in less than 2 years following the signing of the investment agreement, with total investments amounting to 31.5 million of USD. The terminal is initially equipped to handle 80,000 TEUs per year, with the potential to scale up to 200 TEUs if needed. In addition, on June 10th, the Jet2Su International Logistics Hub was inaugurated in Almaty, with a processing capacity of up to 115,000 of TEUs. The hub is the result of an international partnership between Canadian Transservice GSC, a subsidiary company of Kazakh Temirzholoy, and the Chinese company Xi'an Free Trade Port Construction and Operation. Together, these two large-scale projects are part of Kazakhstan's broader strategy to transform into a major transport and logistics hub of Central Asia and the Caspian region. It's worth noting that previously initiatives have already been successfully implemented, including dry ports of Khargos and Xi'an, as well as a terminal in the Chinese port of Lianyungan. That's all from my part, Dorian. Giving the floor back to you.
Thank you very much, Ojet, for this detailed review. This week, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev held talks with the chairperson in office of the OSCE and Finland's Minister for Foreign Affairs, Elina Valtonen. The meeting focused on the issues of international security and cooperation within the OSCE framework. President Tokayev noted that this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Helsinki Final Act, a landmark document that remains a cornerstone of the European security architecture. He emphasized that its principles, including sovereignty, territorial integrity and human rights, continue to hold their relevance today. He added that Kazakhstan remains firmly committed to upholding these values. The president also praised the high level of Kazakh and Finnish relations, describing Finland as a reliable and long-standing partner. Elina Valtonen, in turn, highlighted that the OSCE places great importance on its cooperation with Kazakhstan and on strengthening its engagement across Central Asia. I hope to see Kazakhstan once again chair the OSCE, said Elina Valtonen, chairperson in office of the OSCE and Finland's Minister for Foreign Affairs, in an exclusive interview with New Time. According to Valtonen, Kazakhstan is a key partner not only for the organization, but also for Finland. She stressed that the Central Asian region has the potential to play a pivotal role in shaping the future of the entire world. It is worth recalling that in 2010, Kazakhstan became the first country from the the CIS, Asia and the Turkic-speaking world to assume the OSCE chairmanship. Valtonen added that practical cooperation with Kazakhstan in areas such as human capital development, technology and support for civil society is of growing strategic importance. What are the key outcomes are you hoping to achieve in partnership with Kazakhstan during Finland's chairmanship in OSCE?
Well, you see, we are extremely delighted by the active participation of Kazakhstan in the OSCE. Last time there was a summit, it was in Astana 15 years ago. And I look forward to seeing Kazakhstan again as chairing the organization at some point in the future. So I guess our cooperation is now very operational because there are these dimensions that we can be working on in the societies, and that's why we have this program office also here in Astana, and we're happy to support that work. And also bilaterally, I must say, Finland and Kazakhstan, again, strong partnership, and there's so much we can do, especially when it comes to the human capital, because again, the empowerment of people, whether, you know, boy or girl, or whether, you know, of religious background, whatever, or sexual orientation, you need to be able to decide for your own self what you want to do in your life. And a significant part comes through education. And Finland has specific experience in that. I'm happy to share, and we have a lot of cooperation in technology and in the economic field. And I just visited the Astana hub today, and I'm a former developer and startup investor myself, so I'm very impressed with what those persons are doing there, and also that's very active in Finland too, so in the startup scenes as well we can do so much together.
So all that you just mentioned can be also applied to the whole Central Asian region as a top priority for you, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I do think that the Central Asian region, not just geographically, but also from the human capital point of view, will play a crucial role in defining the future of not just this region, but of the world.
Israel has deported climate activist Greta Thunberg after a vessel she was aboard was intercepted en route to the Gaza Strip. The 22-year-old Swede was among 12 passengers on the Madeleine, a yacht sailing under the British flag and affiliated with the Freedom Flotilla. It's a coalition of pro-Palestinian activists aiming to breach Israel's long-standing naval blockade of Gaza. The boat was stopped in the early hours of June 9th in a nighttime operation by Israeli forces. According to Defense Minister of Israel, Israel Katz, the vessel was boarded and redirected to the port of Ashdod. Thunberg and the others, including 6 French nationals, had intended to deliver a symbolic cargo of humanitarian supplies, such as rice and baby food, to Gaza. The activists say their mission was also designed to draw international attention to what they describe as a deepening humanitarian crisis in the besieged Palestinian territory. Reacting to the incident, French President Emmanuel Macron condemned the blockade, calling it a shame, and reiterated calls for access for humanitarian aid into the Gaza.
D'abord, la France est vigilante et aux côtés de...
First of all, France is on its guard and supports all its citizens when they are in danger. So, of course, we have sent all the messages to ensure the protection of our citizens. France is calling for a ceasefire as soon as possible and for the lifting of the humanitarian blockade. That's what's scandalous, what's unacceptable in Gaza, and what, since the beginning of March, is shameful, shameful.
Humanitarian organizations are calling for an end to Israel's blockade of the Gaza Strip, imposed 2 months ago alongside renewed military operations against Hamas. According to the International Committee of the Red Cross, essential supplies, including food, fuel, medicine and even clean water, are running dangerously low. The organization says humanitarian operations are on the brink of collapse. Israel maintains that the blockade is a necessary measure to pressure Hamas into releasing hostages. Nevertheless, responding to the international criticism, Israel's foreign ministry said more than 1,200 aid trucks have entered Gaza from Israel in the past 2 weeks alone. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has demanded the immediate lifting of all restrictions on humanitarian assistance. He also urged the international community not to lose sight of long-term political actions, calling once again for renewed efforts toward a two-state solution.
It is absolutely essential to keep alive the two-state solution perspective with all the terrible things we are witnessing in Gaza and in the West Bank. And for those that doubt about the two-state solutions, I ask, what is the alternative? Is it a one-state solution in which either the Palestinians are expelled or the Palestinians will be forced to live in their land without rights? That would be totally unacceptable.
And that's it for today. All the main news about Kazakhstan and Central Asia you can find here. More special projects about our country you can also watch on Silkway TV channel. So stay tuned and see you next week.